Starting a new tape. We are here in Yellowstone. This is our fancy cabin. Give you an idea where we are. I'll pan left here. That is Old Faithful. It's about 125, maybe 150 yards from the door of our cabin. And it'll be going off here within the hour. There are hot springs and steam coming up everywhere. Charged the car here using the 110 last night. Seemed to work quite well. We charged, it was plugged in for about 12 hours. The charge backs off after about 6 or 7 hours. A little lighter, but gives us a good balanced charge. We're going to see what we can do today as far as miles. We've calibrated the speedometer. It seems to be quite accurate. Car seems to be quite a hit. It draws a crowd wherever it goes. We've got some pads put here behind the seats because we're getting some small marks on the leather. Now, I don't think it's any damage, but we're getting marks on the leather that I don't want to be permanent. Series of cabins here that we're staying in. Really nice area. We're going to take the camera with us and get some shots while we're driving. We bought 2 video cameras before we came. One already died. We're not having really good luck with that. This one here we charged up last night and we're going to take it with us. See how long this lasts. We also have a still shot camera. My son and his wife are on their way to Las Vegas and then on to Disney World. Pat's all dressed up warm here because it was 29 degrees this morning when we got up. And it's about 40, somewhere in the 40, 42 degree, 45 degree range now. Supposed to get up into the 60s, I guess, today. She has her pedometer because we're planning on doing lots of walking.
No, we're not.
So we'll get some shots as we get moving. It's going to be very windy and probably hard to hear anything. We're out of the park by a few miles. We have 85 miles on the car so far. We have calibrated the speedometer. It's accurate. We're doing 40 miles an hour. I'm going to hand this over to Pat so I can pay attention to driving. Speed limit's 35. We visited a lot of this yesterday, but not with this car per se. We visited a few areas. We're going to chance it and go farther out today. So we'll be taking some shots as we go along. I have no idea whether I'm getting it correctly or not. One of our stops here, we saw buffalo up on the hill not far from here. We'll see if we can't get a shot of it. Right by a nice stream. There, the buffalo's going bonkers up here on the hill, rolling in the dirt.
Yeah, that's where. Oh, all that smoke.
Yeah. He was rolling in it, now he's just sitting there. It's so bright out. so bright out, it's hard to see way up there on the hill. There's more
There's no
hot
sulfur
springs
pond.
down here. We'll pull on ahead to the next. Might be miles an hour on Firehole Lake Canyon Road or whatever. We're going back to an area. We'll have to do some walking. They consider it the Great Geyser. So supposedly there's a large geyser back here. I believe bigger than Old Faithful. The problem is it goes off every 3 to 5 days, and you got to kind of catch it at the right time. I supposedly really big. We'll try and find out when it's going to go off. Park the car kind of in front of it and get a shot. Maybe we'll see what we can do. But we're heading back here to check out this geyser. Central, if you will, or Western Yellowstone National Park. Here's a hot spring pool. These things can crop up wherever they feel like it. So it's kind of dangerous to walk along areas you're not familiar with. Can you tell if we're recording or if it says pause? We're going to pull over here and investigate what this is. Obviously, if you see what I'm seeing, the water is very hot. I asked the rangers why people aren't allowed to actually sit in some of these pools because they're not all boiling. He said because some of them are either alkaline or they're acid, and there's a variety of bacteria in these things that would be fatal to people. So they're very, very careful to keep people out of the water.
Oh.
I got a good one on that one. Yeah. That's definitely boiling.
I think the sulfur's coming up.
As you can see, you want to be careful. They got signs everywhere not to walk out in here. Those little pockets where the steam's coming up, they can happen anywhere.
Why did it sound like a picture?
Because I took a picture. You can actually do that. All throughout this whole area, way up over the hill there, you can see hot springs coming up out of the ground. Another one up just ahead. Now that's definitely warm.
Oh yeah, there's nothing, no bacteria.
I talked to the rangers. They said that even though they got a variety of springs that aren't too hot, it'd be nice to soak in. They're either acidic or alkaline or so full of bacteria they can give people meningitis and other things that are fatal.
Meningitis?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, so he said that they really frown on anybody, getting into them, even if they're just lukewarm.
Right.
Look at that one out there spewing.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, look.
Nice see it.
That's that big one.
Yeah, and they told me that it doesn't
It's only.
spew every 4 or 5 days or something.
Oh, it's that.
Well, there she goes.
That it goes. No, I guess it's really spectacular when it does, but
It's warm walking through these sweats.
that's kind of neat.
Get your lens cap.
Lens cap off. Quit laughing. Is that what was flashing at me? Something. I don't have my glasses on. It was saying lens cap, but I didn't know. Here's the car on tour. We're not sure what this thing is called, but almost looks like a pit of ice, but It definitely isn't.
That says the Great Fountain Geyser.
Access to the Great Fountain Geyser.
No, it just I said that says the Great Fountain Geyser.
Oh, this is the Great Fountain Geyser. So this is the one that only shoots off every few days then. What's the big honker up the street we got spewing a little bit? Huh. Alright, I'm going to shoot a snapshot of you where you're at then. Look this way. Okay. You want to walk out and see that? This is what the Great
Fountain Geyser.
Fountain Geyser. Got a pretty good sized hole there. It's bubbling, boiling water out of it. See the mountains off in the distance. This just started spewing as we were sitting here. Do it for a while, I'm guessing, and then it'll quit. Nope, it's all over. Further in on the same street. Again, we can't go walking out through here because you could fall in clean to your waist or whatever, or worse, into boiling water. Heading to this section over here. I realize this isn't really part of the restoration video, but it's definitely interesting to have the car and to be able to drive it. We have approximately 45% charge left. We've gone nearly 20 miles, 19 miles on today's charge. So, looking halfway decent here. We'll get some shots as we come in down below. Something's spewing pretty good up ahead. Percolating pretty good. Oh, Firehole Lake. We'll get some shots a little closer up. Quite a place. $190 is viewing quite an interesting events out here. Made it here from Yellowstone, Malibu Beach. The car is outside of its garage where it'll be housed. We have some issues with motor controller, steering gearbox, so we're actually going to take this back to Michigan. But this is the owner of the car. You just had a birthday. How young are you now?
I'm 84 years younger.
84 years younger than you were before.
I can't find it.
What was? He had that yesterday.
I know. It's somewhere.
It might be back in the garage. We'll check in the garage. You want me to get a shot with your little racing hat that you wear?
Sure.
We'll have to find your leather. What is that, like Second World War leather airplane or pilot's helmet?
Yeah. Original.
It's an original Second World War version.
Right.
Well, we'll find her. We're going to take the car to a shop that races 190 SLs, and he wants to take a look at it and give us some ideas of stability and things of that nature, what we can do differently to help stabilize the car. Alright, we'll get some shots when we get over there. Okay, actually we are back at the shop here in Michigan. A lot has been going on. The video cameras have been packed away in a box since we got back. Customer has agreed to put lithium iron phosphate batteries in the car for a couple reasons, but to get more mileage out of it. We have the batteries out of the front, steering gearbox disconnected. We are getting ready to put a rebuilt steering gearbox back in it. Reconditioned one. It's very, very tight. These are the lithium batteries. We got them in what are called 12 volt packs. They're all strapped together. Apparently lithium batteries expand if you don't have them kind of bound together, and eventually can crack the case, so they have to be firmly attached, clamped together. This is how we get them. They're wired for a battery management system, but we are not using that battery management system. We're using something else we're putting together. And these are also, I believe, wired in series, and we have to wire pairs in parallel, then wire the pairs in series. So this, we've taken these all apart and be completely rewiring them. There are batteries everywhere. There's the wiring harnesses left over, bolts we'll be using. We're attempting to position them in the existing racks, and we're finding out that these are not compatible to the racks we have, so we're probably going to use what we can of them, but cut them down and rework them. These are the straps that link battery to battery, copper, and these are the caps or covers that snap onto them. See, we got quite a few here. So we're pulling this down. We got all the batteries out. Like you can see, we're kind of test fitting, finding out what fits, what doesn't. We had to loosen up the controller because it was sitting on the battery frame mount in the front. And that is here. We're going to see what of this we can use. We still have the controller mount sitting here mounted on it. We have to alter the width and the length. These are going to have to be removed, and a bottom will have to be put in it. But we think we can pretty much use this, most of this front mount. So we'll just alter it and put it back in. We'll get some shots. I see my batteries flashing already. Our intention is to keep this to buffer the 12-volt system, and it'll run the air pump more properly that we're using for the power brake system. This is one of the racks that we had to actually cut apart to get it out of the car. So we'll get some shots. Like I said, battery's about to die. Transmission will be swapped out. Steering gearbox swapped out. And we'll be building racks shortly for mounting the batteries. This area in here most likely will be cut away. Lower the center of gravity by dropping the batteries lower, about 7-8 inches lower. Might remove the spare tire wells entirely. We're going to have to discuss that yet. We just haven't decided our final plans there. But we'll get some shots as we get a little farther along. The motor also has to be rewired. I'm not sure if you can see down in there. We've got the cover off. The motor being three-phase has to be rewired for a different type of connection. You can see the wiring in there. There are like 6 wires coming out of the motor, and depending on how it's wired, you get a delta or a Y configuration. If we go to the Y configuration, we have to run higher voltage, but we get 25% more horsepower. So that is what we're going to be doing here next. Wiring that, swapping over the steering gearbox, checking everything in the front suspension one more time to make sure that everything is tight. And we'll get some shots in a couple hours. We have to cut these braces. This brace was actually kind of custom fit and welded into the car. Does not come out well. Very tight. And it's sized wrong for the new batteries, so we actually have to cut some of the end pieces off in order to free this up and get it out. So that's what we're in the process of doing with this air saw. And we've got it up over the ledge, you can see, but it's wedging pretty tight here in these 3 places where we braced it. So he's going to cut that edge off over there, and we should be able to get her out.
Lights work?
All right, we've decided to cut out this area back here. We're going to retain what we can, but we've cut through here. We're going to try and save these spare tire wells because they're actually good. They could be sold in the future rather than destroyed, so we're not going to cut them all to pieces. He's now drilling out spot welds along this ledge, spot welds along the back. He's cut it here already. Drilled out these spot welds. We will make a lowered area back here to retain the batteries and lower the center of gravity. The batteries also behind the seat will actually be a little bit lower. We have this for any sparks and stuff. We just picked up a new batch of aluminum. Got aluminum angle here. We've got some 1x1 by 1/4 inch thick for the bottom supports for the battery because it's stronger. We've got these. This is 2x1 by 1/8, and I've got some 3/4 by 3/4 by 1/8 for like top frames and for just hold downs. We should have enough of it here. We'll get busy designing and making some of these battery hold downs in the battery frames. It's Monday evening. You can see we sort of removed the trunk area. You can see that we've got some of the framing in for the main batteries. We're fitting them so that we still have room for this. It will come back. There's still room for the seat to have some clearance. This will be tucked back a little bit farther back. There'll be 5 of these on the side, the electrical connections facing back, and they'll be double stacked up. And then we'll make another frame for the top, help hold them down. And so we will have 10 batteries here, and then we will be able to fit 10 more batteries this direction, starting down in here, working their way all the way across. And being that these are lighter and not any higher than the other batteries were, and that 10 of them are going to be lower, that already is less weight and a lower center of gravity than the lead acid batteries that were here. And then here, we've not built it yet, but we can put between 18 and 20 of these size batteries in here in a sunken area, approximately 8 inches low, maybe 7, and they'll only stick up slightly above here. Then we can fit quite a few batteries here, including the charger, the balancing system, a variety of things. Not everything is back yet, so we're going to be cautious at how much more we cut out or trim. And we'll be building a box here, maybe something that sticks up a little ways with a lid on top. Not sure exactly how we're going to do it. We have to have access to the batteries, but we also have to have the ability for him to throw groceries back here or whatever he wants to, and have a little bit of storage. The factory specifications state that you can put no more than 200 pounds in the trunk, but that also does not include the gas tank, which with fuel weighs approximately 100 pounds. So we could feasibly, especially lower, put 300 pounds back here, but 18 batteries only weigh like 220, 230, somewhere in that area. So we could easily put 20 batteries back here if we have the need. What we're trying really hard not to do is put all the weight towards the rear of the car and not much up in the front of the car. We're leaving one lead acid battery here to buffer the 12 volt system because of power surges that we were having trouble with. So we're going to leave that here. And we're going to put at least 10 batteries up front here, but that's only 130 pounds. And then plus this would bring us up to 200 pounds. And I would prefer a little more than that, but it won't be too bad, I don't think. So all the batteries, I believe, together weigh right around 670 pounds, I think. And the other batteries weighed 1,050. So even if we hit 700, we're still looking at 500 pounds, approximately 500 pounds lighter on the car. And most of that would be center to rear. So we're thinking we're going to have much better stability. Steering gearbox, been all gone through. We started with a really, really nice tight one to begin with. I don't know if you can see down in there very well. Any movement of this gearbox moves the tie rod that you see down inside. Even a slight movement moves that tie rod back and forth. If I can get a better shot here. So there's virtually no play in the steering column any longer. It's very, very tight. Very smooth and very tight. Get some shots later. Get more progress. This is Monday evening. Got quite a ways. By tomorrow evening, these should pretty much be all in with a lid cover made, and we would be working on the trunk. Been a few days. We did show that we had this cut out. We have a box made here. Needs to be welded together yet. Needs to be final fit. We decided to make it out of 18 gauge. It adds a little weight, but it's a good sturdy box. It's going to be 260 pounds of batteries back here, so got to make sure that it's sturdy. This is how this is going to look here. One row there. There's going to be 2 rows of batteries here, double stacked with them facing that way. 2 high. We still have to build the top hold downs, but we're set there. This frame is finished. We're going to line the bottom of it with flipped over aluminum diamond plate. There'll be 2 batteries more here. This will be open so that the wiring can come out and come around and be attached. Probably one will go one area and one will go another, depending on how the wiring forward comes. We just purchased what are called welding blankets. Very difficult for stuff to burn through this fire retardant material, but should it do that, this is like $100 and some a roll, but we bought a fire retardant paper that covers the body. It sticks on the body, so we're going to cover the body, the paint, with this paper first, and then we'll lay this softer cloth over the paint, and then this. I don't know if we'll need the soft cloth once the paper's on it, but we'll cover it with these blankets. We bought 4 of them. They will cover, and when we are grinding or welding anything in this car, then the weld splatter will not be able to burn through the paint. We don't have to do a huge amount of it, but there is some welding to do with that battery box and reinforcing that battery tray. So we're coming along well. October 27th, the morning, Tuesday morning, and we'll get some shots towards the end of the day. The battery box should be in. Reinforcement, we'll have some trays made for the top of this by the end of the day. We'll get some shots at that point. We got the car covered. Welding and spark deflection paper by 3M. Comes in a roll. I don't believe we have any welding to do up front. It has a very mild adhesive. Peels off pretty easy. So we've got it on the car. Then we bought $150 worth of welding blankets. We've got the car wrapped with that. Our battery box is down in place. This cardboard is emulating a lid. We cannot hinge it from the back and lift it because the battery box actually extends underneath of here a couple of inches. Had to put it in by standing it on its end and then laying it down inside. So we can open it and like latch it in the center here. So this piece of cardboard would be like the diamond plate that we would hinge from the bottom corners, latch it in the center. So we'll figure that out. Now, the battery tray has to sit at a slight angle, deeper at the rear than it is at the front, or when this hinged cover opens, it will hit the bottom here. Doesn't have to go by much, but this will be exposed here approximately 1.5 inches, and that'll be exposed there about 2 inches. So just a little bit of tilt. Probably won't hardly be able to see it, but we have to in order to be able to open the lid and get at the batteries and yet close the lid and keep the batteries in place. So we'll get back. We're going to be clamping this in place, tack welding. We're not doing anything until we do some final fitting like we're doing here, and making sure that once it's tacked in place, we're going to be able to access the battery tray and the batteries in it. But we'll be welding that in here shortly, and we'll get some shots after we get everything assembled in place. This is the rear battery box. Cut holes for the fans. Colin's going to put two good size 2-speed 4-inch fans in the back. We've got it cleaned, sanded, prepped, primed. We're going to paint it before it goes in. It will set in here. Not much light, but it'll set in here. We've got everything cleaned up and painted in here. These two metal cross members on the floor. We'll be going in here to reinforce that battery box. Colin's setting up the management system. Uses these little printed circuit boards joining each set of cells, and it will manage the voltage going into them and monitor each battery. Actually, there's two for each battery. Controller is loose and back out of the way a little bit, but it'll sit pretty much in that position, a little farther back. This is the position that these batteries will be in. There's one more battery to go back in this corner right here, and we are making the framework that goes around these, kind of zigzaggedy around, but we're making the framework to hold these batteries in place. That'll be done today, and then we'll be able to go ahead and mount them in here. Behind the seat, he'll be wiring those, and we'll make the battery hold down frame for that. Today's Thursday, November, today the 5th? 5th. Tomorrow, Colin is expecting to have in the battery charger. So, being that we'll have the wiring, the management system, which is here, everything either rebuilt or replaced, we'll have all that together by tomorrow. So next week, a lot of progress will be visible. Right now we've got everything shielded and wrapped and controlled so that sparks that we're creating or grinding won't damage the paint or the leather or anything else on the car body. So we've got very heavy fire retardant canvases purchased, as well as body wrap that is a spark resistance. Says here welding and spark deflection paper. And it helps us if we walk by with something sharp, we don't scratch the paint and stuff too. So it was a well worth expense. We're going to get the battery tray painted, welded in place, and start setting the batteries and making these top frames to hold down these batteries. And we'll get some shots in a little while once we get a little bit more progress. Been a few days. It's November 11th. The battery frames are made. We got to drill holes to bring down to attach the threaded rod to do the hole down. We got a hole down here and here. Colin's already starting to link these together, and the battery management wiring is here with the circuitry. We've got the controller back mounted properly. Battery frames are virtually finished here. We're just going to be drilling some holes and finishing the actual hold down mounts. We do have to paint them. I can't tell you how many times the batteries have been put in and out of here, maybe 20, to get everything fitting properly. And you only got one chance at getting all these batteries fitting with the right amount of play. And this battery frame is finished. Rob's just finishing up the very center one here. It's been painted. We're going to put some rubber on the two edges for vibration reasons and make it fit a little extra snug. And we got a little bracket we're going to drop from here to this back wall and screw it in just to hold the back down better. But this is how the battery pattern of the batteries in the trunk is going to be. The exhaust fans go here, so we have clearance for that. We have an air gap here for air circulation. Air gap a little bit in the center here, very little around the sides. But air will pull across. We have to make a top cover that will go on here with some louvered air vent holes back along the back, so the air will draw through and blow out over here. So we'll constantly have air movement over the batteries during the charging phase, I believe, and the discharging phase both. And so we'll get back some shots here. You can see we've had to line them up on the floor to build the upper frames. This is how many will be behind the seat. And then the second tier will be 2 high and 5 across. So we'll have a variety of them, 20 of them behind the seat. And 20 in the trunk and 10 in the front. So there's a total of 50 batteries. And each battery is made up of 4 cells. So there's a total of 200 lithium iron phosphate cells in this car. Battery lights flashing. So we'll get back. We have a few more. We'll get a little more progress. Colin's back here feverishly working on wiring the battery management system, which consists of. You got any of these off?
There are ones over there.
This is a little panel, like a circuit, with a wire. I'll get a shot of one not installed. These all have to be soldered and linked to one another. And because these batteries need to be left so that they can be interchanged if need be, we bought hundreds of these little wire ends, male and female terminals, so the system can actually be joined together. And if we ever need to change a battery, rotate a battery out for any reason, then these can be unplugged. from cell to cell, each set can be permanently soldered, because then you can always take the nuts off and remove them that way. He's got the batteries in position back here, and the main jump wire is linked, but he does not have all of these individual cells linked. You got to put those connectors in here too, Colin.
Yeah.
You didn't connect this one here. You got to clip that and put a jumper in it. Yeah. Oh, you cut them afterwards and put a end on them. So this battery tray and mounting assembly is installed, bolted in. This is installed with a battery hold down. The bolts aren't in it yet, but will be. This will be 2 rows of batteries in this position. Here they are up front. Again, all wired. The battery management system wired and linked. He's got a couple more areas to cut here and put his wire connector in between, so things could be swapped out. This is a remade battery hold down for these batteries and bolted in position. We had to buy, because this isn't the only car we intend to do, we bought, I believe, 500 of these connectors. These are the old battery hold down bars for the other ones. This is the rebuilt 220 110 battery charger that we got back. That will be installed in the back shortly. There was some of those circuit pieces up here.
In a silver bag like that.
Silver bag. Anyway, there are quite a variety. I don't know if you can see this through there or not. Tiny little terminals. He's got a lot of connectors and so on to put on these, and making jumpers. We'll be at this for a couple of days. A lot of soldering, a lot of jumper leads that he's making. We bought an entire roll of black and red wire for 6 gauge? 6 gauge wire for this. So we'll get back, we'll get some more shots. These are fire retardant panels. We had to do a variety of welding in the car. We did not want any sparks getting on the body, which is why the entire body is covered with a fire retardant paper. I think we mentioned that already. This area has been all resprayed with that body bed liner for trucks. Very durable. And anyway, we got a couple of days worth of wiring. We'll get back once we get the rest of these batteries put in. This is Monday, November 16th. And we figure that by the end of the week, the actual battery power will be hooked up and the motor will be active. Then we're going to work on the problem we have with the vibration in the motor, that we're not sure if it's a flywheel or something not tightened properly. And we'll get after that. A spring is being shipped to Minnesota today for them to do pressure testing on the spring, one of the ones we cut down. And we're going to have a set of front and rear springs properly designed for the weight balance and distribution of batteries and everything in this car. And so an engineering firm in Minnesota is working on that. So by the end of the week, I'll know something more in regards to the springs. So we'll get back in a while. Okay, it's been another day. This is the 17th of November. Colin has spent many, many hours soldering on all these connectors and joining the battery management system and wiring these in parallel now?
Well, they're series and parallel.
Series and parallel mix. We have a total of 200 cells wired now and 50 battery packs made up of 4 cells each. The fans will be going in back here for air circulation. What we've done right now is we wired these up and got them set in place, made sure the battery frame fit. Then we had to mount the headrest panel and figure out how to mount these shock absorbers because they cannot be in the same position they were because they were mounted to the old battery frame. It's hard to see down inside, but they're mounted in securely. They work very, very well. They lock it in almost a vertical position. We can still get at things to work on them. We went out today and bought stainless steel TIG rod. We had to cut them to length, chuck them up in a drill, and take 2/1000ths of an inch off the stainless steel rod. And then we drove them in through these holes, linking 2 batteries together. This is a round bracket. You can see where one plate links to another. You have a leftover plate. Stacking 2 batteries together, we drove the stainless rod all the way through 2 batteries so the 2 batteries become one pack and can't move around. It's much safer that way. The hold down will hold both batteries from sliding. And so we pop those in here, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them we had to cut. We had to buy 10 pounds of it to get any for close to $100, but we had to get enough. It's enough to keep on doing cars, let's put it that way. And now we're wiring the main wires back together. Colin has put each thing so that when we do need to remove a battery or a battery pack, we can unplug these and just take these bolts loose and take a pack out. So we're putting them back now. We're going to be mounting the battery frame back in. And these are the old latch or strikers for these latches up here. They clip on like that. These are now just a fuzz. With the position they're going to be in, they're a fuzz too tall. We're going to shave them down and get them to fit proper direction here and get these latches working. Probably do it tomorrow because it's after 5 o'clock now. And we'll get back. And he has wired all these together. And we have not charged the system up yet, but he had, how many volts did you have?
330.
330 volts. And again, these are not charged. So hopefully tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow or Thursday, we'll be able to spin the motor up, hopefully. We got a little bit more wiring to do. We need to spin it up, find out where the vibration is either in the old flywheel or something put together wrong under there, but we cannot have that vibration. That is the last issue on this car that we really need to fix. Everything else has been all other issues, all other problems. Steering gear all gone through. Transmission, a different one completely redone.
Still have that intermittent squeak in the front end though.
But we're going to be putting new springs in the front end. I think it's from a spring.
Oh, yeah, that's possible.
I think it's from the squeak is from that spring. We'll know when we get those other springs back. We shipped the cut down spring off and a set of the rear springs off for them to do testing. And they have the weights of the car now. So we're going to have a proper set of springs. I guess they're called progressive springs. We'll have a proper set made to give us the height of off the ground that we want and the stability that we want. We'll get back tomorrow after we get... we're going to start making the aluminum plate that goes here. and we have to cut slots or louvers, or we may cut another big name 190 SL or something in it with water jet or laser. We need some airflow over these batteries, and these fans will pull that over. He's got more fans coming, the larger ones like this here, and he'll put 2 back here and replace the little fan there with a big one so we get good airflow. And they don't draw much power, so it won't really matter.
Ordering 4.
So tomorrow we'll be working on finishing these batteries hold downs, the striker or latching for that top hump panel, and we will work on the ignition, because we have to actually change the ignition system around to a different system because we have higher voltage. So we'll play with that and get some shots of that tomorrow. We're underneath the car. Rob's got the clutch assembly out, mounted the flywheel back on. We took the flywheel off and we spun the motor up, and it's smooth as can be with the little adapter on the back and everything. Put the flywheel back on, the whole car shakes like mad. So even though we had this balanced, the flywheel itself is out of round. I want you to go ahead and fire it up. I'm going to see if I can't get a... Yeah, it's shaking so bad that it's rattling on the body of the car. They can probably see the pencil shake. I don't know if you can see it or hear it. It's touching the pencil, then not touching the pencil. This thing needs to be, when you're spinning at 5,000 or 6,000 RPMs, you can see right here, rubbing, not rubbing. Do it again. Good enough. I can see this pencil vibrating like crazy down here, Colin. Yeah. Now if I put it on the inside, it's pretty smooth on the face. So it's not the face, it's the overall out of roundness. If I hold the pencil against it, the pencil wobbles up and down.
That's definitely vibrating.
Oh, it shakes the whole car. So even though it was balanced at 500 RPMs, anything above that, it just shakes this car to death. I'm going to pull it off, and we're going to temporarily bolt another flywheel on here and do a test. And if it's round, then we'll take this whole mechanism again back off and have it balanced together, and we'll try it again. But we're going to check the outer roundness of a different flywheel before we go any farther. Alright, just for yucks, we put another flywheel in here. It's only held in with 3 bolts, but we're trying to get an idea of a balancing difficulty. Go ahead and spin it up some. Yeah.
It's still active.
Go ahead. Hit it again, just not real fast. Hit it again. That's good. That was 1,000 RPMs?
Yeah.
Well, it shakes like crazy without it being balanced, of course. It isn't quite as out of round as the other flywheel, but I'm thinking because of the shape of these flywheels and the factory counterbalances that they put in them for the crankshaft, that we would probably be better off having a flywheel manufactured out of a high tensile type of steel that will handle the friction and the heat and yet be able to be perfectly balanced without all this extra junk in it. This thing is so out of balance, Colin, that after it stopped, it just spun itself backwards the other way. it came to the bottom. And it's the side that has that counterbalance
Right. Drops to the bottom.
across the bottom on it. It has to be that side that came swinging down. Because if I swing it a little bit and let go, look,
Yeah,
see it come back down?
that's pretty out of bounds.
See it come right straight back down?
Yeah.
See? And the other one showed, we measured it 15, had 20 thousandths of out of roundness here, right?
You don't have to my flashlight?
This one has 7. But it's so out of balance to the existing crankshaft or the existing shaft that it just spins itself right back down and drops to the bottom. I think we're going to talk to the customer, and it looks like we're going to have a flywheel manufactured. That's going to be the safest way. All right, back under the car. Not sure how well. Not a lot of room because the car is only on stands. Not sure how well you're going to be able to see anything, but I have a dial indicator on the shaft of the motor. We're going to start there and work our way out and determine the run out of each individual thing here. So we'll turn this. This dial indicator is very, very fine, so it's susceptible to any kind of movement. You can see I'm moving approximately 3 marks. At least I'm